All right, it is 1 o'clock, and I see people streaming into today's webinar. This is terrific. I'm going to give you another minute or so for everyone to get connected, and then we will begin. All right, excellent. Well, hello and welcome to today's webcast. My name is Dave McCormick. Welcome to TransForm Tuesday. Today I'm going to show you a few things that you've seen in previous webinars. Just real quickly, we're going to go over basically simple apps and also using TransForm applications on a phone. So that's stuff you've seen before, but what you haven't seen, what's new this week, is that we're going to be connecting our TransForm account to Alpha Anywhere. So I'm going to show you how you can build a UX with a list control and have it connect to your TransForm data, including showing pictures, signatures, maps, and all kinds of great things that you want to see. I'll show you how to get the API keys to make this all work, and we'll even cover how to do the map API key for Google Maps, which seems to be confusing for some folks, but something you'll probably want to use with TransForm. The last thing that we're going to do is we're going to show off some of the Alpha Anywhere TransForm documentation, and Sarah Mitchell, who's joined me today, will be showing that to you. So let's get started. Before we begin, I just want to make sure that my screen is showing and stuff. So Sarah, if you're on the line, could you let me know if everything is going okay?
I can see your screen.
Excellent. All right, superb. So let's begin in TransForm Central. Here we are in TransForm Central, and I think I've shown off this app a few times. It's a really simple equipment inspection application. It has just 6 fields, an ID, the type of equipment that's being inspected, whether or not it's working, and then these 3 special fields. One is a GPS field or location field, another is a photo field, and the third one is a signature field. Now, I've demonstrated these before, but I'm going to demonstrate it one more time because I think it'll make for a more impressive demonstration when we get into showing the data in Alpha Anywhere. So let me just open up my phone. Oops, here we go. And mirror my screen. Okay. And let's open up TransForm. Oops, I think I just passed it. Too many icons. Here we go. So there's Alpha TransForm, and here is the equipment inspection form. Let me just refresh definitions in case we need to on that. I don't think we do, but let's. And I'm going to click on equipment inspection. So here I'll enter in a number. I'm going to say, actually, I'm going to say webinar. Oops. 1, 2, 3. And we're just going to go to the next field, and we'll say I'm going to take a picture of a server. I don't actually have a server, but we'll see. We'll say the equipment is working. I'll click yes. I'm going to get a location. By the way, here's even though I've shown this to you before, where it takes 15 or 20 seconds to get the most accurate reading, you can actually skip off this at any point, which I'm going to do right now, and it will actually do its best to capture the location. You'll find it's actually pretty good. So now here, I'm taking a picture of my own screen, but let's take a photo here. Here's my photo. And then the last part is the signature. So here's my signature. So here I am in the phone, and I've just filled out this form, and I'm going to now upload this form to the server so that it goes up onto the TransForm cloud. Okay, uploading, saving changes, and now it is up on the TransForm cloud, so I can shut down my phone. Do that, close window. And if I go in here to Management Console, you'll see, let me just click on that, and you should be able to see the data that we just inputted into my phone. So let's equipment inspection. And there are actually a few records. So here's one that was at 102. Yep, that's the one we just did. Webinar 1, 2, 3, server. Here's a picture of the map. Here's that photo that I took, and there's my signature. Okay, so it's all in Management Console. So far, all stuff you've seen before. But now we're going to go into Alpha Anywhere and start using this data, which is pretty exciting. So I'm in Alpha Anywhere here, and I'm building a UX component. I pretty much know everyone here who's on the phone with me today, so I know you all know what a UX component is, but For those of you who are watching this as a recorded session, think of the UX builder as a form builder for either web or for mobile applications. In this case, we're going to do it as a web application. And in this UX, I've added in a list control. Now, you're probably familiar with list controls. I'm going to double click on that, and it displays data from a data source. And typically, SQL is the data source that we've often used in many of our examples. There are other ones as well. You can get it from JavaScript functions. You can get it from APIs and so on. But one of the sources that we now have in the latest release, which just came out yesterday, by the way, new official release yesterday, is TransForm as one of the options. So here I've selected TransForm, and I have 4 pieces of information, or a few pieces of information I need to put in. One is my API key, which is right here. And then after I've entered my API key, I can select what form I'm going to use. Let me show you where you get the API key. So I'm going to pop back over to TransForm Central, and we're going to go back to the Home tab. And I'm going to expand up this accordion control here, and I've selected Get TransForm API Key. And when I do that, in fact, I'm going to do it again. So it's under Developer Options, Get TransForm API Key. And when you get a key, you can decide what permissions the API should be allowed to give you access to. So you could choose all, which I tend to do for testing, but in a real production environment, you'd want to lock it down to just what you need. For example, if you just need to read data, you could choose just read data. And this interface, by holding down the control button, actually lets you click on multiple ones. So let's say you wanted to do create form access, and read data, but not edit data. You could do that. I'm just going to choose all here. I'm going to click Get API Key. It generates a key. And over here, this little widget will actually copy it to your clipboard for you. Otherwise, just copy it yourself. And then when you go back into Alpha Anywhere, this is where you paste that key. Now that that key is in place, I can click this button over here to select the form. And what it's doing is it's actually going to the TransForm server using my API key, and it shows me that I have these 4 form type definitions: equipment inspection, housing, medical, and this thing called Form 2. I forget what that one was. But the one we're interested in is equipment inspection, so I'm just going to leave that there. Now, when I made that selection, it imported all of the fields. So let me click on that, and I'm going to show you the fields: ID, type, working location, photo, and signature, just like our old app. Let me show you something else, though. For those of you who weren't with us last week, I want to show you something important back in TransForm Central, and that is the field. So for each one of these fields, we always typed in a title, so that which is what appears in the application. But behind the scenes, how the data gets stored in the database is with these field names. Now, when you first create a TransForm form, either using Quick Start or using this full commands menu here, it'll just name your fields: Field 1, Field 2, Field 3, Field 4. So you're going to need to go back and rename them like I've done here. So location, I've changed the field, which I think this was called simply Field 4. I've changed it to location. You're going to want to do this because otherwise, when you get into Alpha, you're going to see some pretty cryptic names like Field 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you're not going to know what's in them. So just a pointer. Okay, so here I've got my 6 fields. And for those of you familiar with the list builder, you probably know that I can then specify a type of list layout. Now, by default, it creates a columnar list layout where you don't really have to specify anything. It'll just put the fields in. But I've selected instead in list properties to do it as a freeform type of field. And what that means is by selecting freeform instead of my column, that means that I can go over here to the List Layout tab and build a template using the data. So that's what I've done here. I've typed in the word ID, and I've pasted in the ID field from the placeholder section. I put in some spaces. I put in the type of equipment field, whether or not it's working, the photo, the location, and the signature. So those are all in. One thing I had to do, though, before I built this template, or I can do afterwards, is back here on this Fields tab, I needed to let Alpha know what kind of fields they are. when the fields come in from TransForm, they're just all JSON fields. So they're all character fields as far as Alpha Anywhere is concerned. But if you go and you tag them with the type of fields that they really are, the type of data they really contain, then Alpha can actually behave intelligently when it creates that template for you. So in the case of the location field, I went and I set the control type to map. And in the case of the photo field, I went and set the control type to image. And signature, I was actually able to just leave that one alone. That one just works, which you'll see in a minute. So now that I've selected all my fields, I've set them to the right type, and I've gone to the list layout and I've laid them all out in a type of template, which is not a terrific one, but an easy one for this test. I'm going to go and do a live preview. So we'll go ahead and do that. I think this may also work in working preview, but I was having some issues earlier today. So we'll just let that generate. Okay, here we go. This is some data I added earlier. So let's go see the one I just added. Okay, this is the one I just added a moment ago. If you were watching, the ID was webinar 123. It was the equipment functional yes. You'll see the photo that I took appears here. You'll see the map now appears there. My signature appears there. Everything worked the way that it was supposed to, which is terrific. So while I was rehearsing this, though, things weren't working the way they were supposed to. In particular, the map was not appearing. And one thing that I had forgotten about is that Google Maps, if you want to use maps, require an API key that you get from Google. So I kind of want to go over that real quick because that can be a source of confusion. So first of all, when you put in a map image control, what you need to do is you need to go back to the Web Projects control panel, and you need to go into Project Properties, which are done here, and you need to scroll down to Google, and this is the one we use here, Google Static Maps API key. And that is the one that we had, let me just double check. Yep, Google Static Maps API key. So how did I get an API key? Well, what I had to do was I had to log into Google. And the instructions on this have changed a little bit. It is documented, but we're just updating the documentation on that. And I'm going to console.developers.google.com. And here I am. Now, when I started, what I basically did is this is the API services dashboard. You just need to have a Gmail account or a Google account to get in here. Once you're here, you can do a test. You can search for different API libraries, and you could say enable APIs and services, which I've done before. And I'm going to search for, well, let's just search for static. I think that'll do it. Yeah, Google Static Maps API. So I click on that, and then it's already enabled, but if yours wasn't, there'd be a button for you to click which says enabled. Once it's enabled for your account, you'll need to get an API key, and you do that. Let's go back to the dashboard. Here under credentials, you'll click on credentials. You'll tell it that you want an API key. You could say create credentials, create an API key, and it will pop one up here in the window. And you're just going to copy that out from the window, and you're going to paste that back into Alpha Anywhere into the Google Static Maps API key. Once that's in place, you'll be able to start using maps without any problem. There are some restrictions that Google places. There's a certain number of calls that you can make, although it's a very large number. But also from a licensing point of view, if you are using Google Maps in something that is a paid service, whereas behind a firewall or a gateway, I believe that there is a licensing fee that needs to go to Google Maps, and it can be kind of pricey. So you want to look into that to see how what you're going to do or how you want to handle that. Okay, with that done, I think that's everything I wanted to show you in today's webinar. The only other thing I wanted to bring up was the documentation that's available for Alpha Anywhere and for TransForm. So I'm going to bring Sarah in here. Hello, Sarah, are you there?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Excellent. I can. Can you give a quick overview of the documentation that's available, where to find it, and what's there?
Absolutely.
Great.
The documentation on what you saw here is available in the Alpha Anywhere documentation system.
Cool. So I'm going to go ahead and just share your screen. Oh, there we go. I see your screen now. Okay, yep.
And you can find this at www.alphasoftware.com/documentation, which will bring you straight to this landing page. And if you go into User's Guide and down to the Alpha Transform section and click on Alpha Transform, you will find a section here that documents the features that are available in Alpha Anywhere for working with Alpha Transform. Definitely come in and check it out. In addition to the list integration, there's an API Explorer. There's some instructions in here in case you don't remember from this video how to make an API key. We have them here for you. And we also have some helper functions if you are working with Transform in XBasic, and those are in here as well.
Excellent. Thanks very much. Since we have a couple, well, first of all, we will definitely have time for questions. Someone is asking, are these videos available for viewing somewhere? That's the first question, and the answer is yes, but I have not yet posted them. They will be posted. I'm going to send you out a link right now because you guys are charter members, and in fact, your early set of charter members are actually keeping this to ourselves. You're part of an inner circle here. So I'll send you out the links, but they won't be public in our library just yet. Next up, here's another question. Is the detail view of the list control supported? Yes, you can absolutely use the detail view of the list control. Does it push data back? I haven't tried it yet, but we'll find out next session, or if you want to just email me afterwards, we can take a look and see how that works. Let's take a look, though, at the API Explorer since we have a few minutes. And I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to go to Web Projects Control Panel.
Would you like to share your screen?
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much. That's helpful. All right. Let me share my screen. Right-click, make me the presenter. Show my screen. All right. And can you see my screen now?
I can, yes.
Okay, excellent. All right. So here we are back in Alpha Anywhere. And I'm at the Web Projects Control Panel. I'm going to go up to the Tools menu. And here you're going to see again that you need to have yesterday's build, which is an actual real release. It's not a pre-release. We've done the full release. And what you're going to do is you're going to grab the Open Transform API Explorer. So the API Explorer is pretty cool. It shows you the 38 different methods that are available that you can use, and each time you choose one, it gives you this little shortcut interface where you can start typing things in. Now, I don't have anything to type in here, but you want to use this if you want to start playing around with Alpha's API. Here you can enter in your API key, which I'm going to do right now. Actually, let me just grab it out of project properties, out of the UX. Grab my API key, and we'll go back. Click, click, cancel. Tools. Whoops. It helps if you're in the right control panel. Web Projects Control Panel. I'm going to go up to Tools. I'm going to go to Transform API, Open Transform API Explorer. I'll enter in my key. Okay. And now, Sarah, what might be a good example to do here? I think you're more familiar with these than I am.
Number 18, the Get API Scope Codes, which is useful to understand what all those little three-letter acronyms mean.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's talk about that. But anyway, so all right. So I've entered that. Here's my API key. Clicked OK. I'm just going to say test, and it should give me back. I see JSON, which shows you what all the things are. So over here on the left, in parentheses, this shows you what scopes you need if you want to execute one of these commands. It has all next to them because obviously if you have an API key that has all permissions, of course it's going to be allowed to do everything. But some of them are going to have other codes next to it, like this one is EAM. Oops, once I clicked off it, everything disappeared. Let me just regenerate that. So what these correspond to what's going on here in this table. Now, I think what we'll probably do is have a cheat sheet, available here that you'll be able to click on. But for now, this is just an example of the API Explorer. Now, for example, let's say, let me find an example here. CFI, CFO, here's CFO, create forms. So that's create new form definitions, CFO. The name is create forms. And so if I go back into TransForm and I want to create an API key, I will see create forms is one of the permissions that I'm allowed to set. So that's how you that's the Rosetta Stone between TransForm Central and Alpha Anywhere when it comes to those codes. So again, that wraps it up for what I wanted to present today. If there are more questions, and I don't see that there are a lot, I'm definitely happy to answer them. If you don't have any questions right now, but one occurs to you after the fact, by all means, go ahead and send an email to me. Actually, send it to tfservice, as in transform service at alphasoftware.com. That's monitored by me and a couple other people. And we're happy to get your questions answered. So if that's it, I think we are going to wrap up. I don't see any further questions. Sort of a short session today. I want to thank everyone who attended, and I will be sending out emails to all of you with locations of the recorded sessions from the last 3 weeks, including this week. Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for attending, and I hope to talk to you all soon. We will not be doing a Transform Tuesday next weekend. I am, in fact, on vacation, but I will be back the following Tuesday, so I'll see you then. All right, take care and goodbye.